True 10 is brought to you by SA's newest top realtor, Karen Vasquez of Caldwell Banker. Karen is a local educator, mother, wife, and certified realtor that wants to help you find your new forever home. Thank you for listening to our story today. And remember, True 10 is brought to you by you, our listeners and supporters. You can follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and join us on Facebook. And remember, stay safe, San Antonio.
You have those crushes on the superstars and the artists and everything and they're older.
Right.
So I can see a kid be infatuated with their teacher, but you don't respond because that's one way.
Right.
But how are you like, oh, he's so cute. He can brag. I'm kissing the teacher. I'm having sex with her in the gym bathroom on the floor.
I know.
You can't brag.
So gross.
Other than saying, oh, I'm getting sex on the regular. Who are you going to tell? Can we meet him? Maybe. I mean, he can't come over.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Does,
they're not like.
The babysitter's here. That's my man.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. So San Antonio Police Department every San Antonio Police Department has a special victims unit, SVU. So the department focuses on sex crimes, which includes human trafficking, family violence, including protective orders, and the victim advocacy office provides services to sexual offense victims and oversees family assistance crisis team, a group of community members who volunteer to support victims. The Special Victims Unit is also responsible for registering sex offenders, mandating registration, and park safety zones and exemptions, which I didn't know what that meant, but it's a city code which prohibits registered sex offenders from residing within 1,000 feet of a city park and prohibits a registered sex offender from entering or loitering within 300 feet of a city park. So if they're like, oh, this is the only apartment I can find and it's next to City Park, then they have to like file for an exemption. So according to Texas View, there are about 100,000 registered sex offenders in Texas. There are over 3,700 registered sex offenders in San Antonio. So that's about 1 in 400 residents. It's gross to think about. According to the FBI, we are no longer referencing child pornography, and we are referring now to child sexual abuse materials, as this puts the focus on what the materials are, because children cannot consent to being in porn, which is, porn itself is legal if you're 18 and older. Like you can film porn, you can distribute porn, you can do all the porn things, which is legal. But if you're under 18, it's not porn because you can't consent to it. So the FBI is trying to get away from saying child pornography and is now referring to it as child sexual abuse materials. Changing our language leads everyone to face the impact it has on children and focus on the actual abuse. Let's start with the most recent story that we have here. In 2022, 32-year-old Alejandro Romero Pena was a football and girls coach at West Campus High School in South San ISD. Located on the southwest side by Lackland, the high school was home to hundreds of students from 9th to 12th grade. In 2022, Alejandro started grooming an underage female student. First, by giving the student his own phone number and social media information. Like, why would you give a student your own phone number? Well, he immediately began messaging the minor and pushing the limits of educator-student relationship. And by the following year, Alejandro had begun sexually abusing the 16-year-old girl, forcing her to have sex in his office at the school during the day. She was 16. And he was 33. Alejandro put pressure on the teen to keep quiet and to listen to everything he said to do. which is typical predator behavior. Thankfully, the 16-year-old's father saw a bruise on her, and instead of brushing it off and not talking to his child to see what was happening in her life and why she would have bruises on her, which any, concerned parent should do. Like, if I see a bruise on my child, I'm like, where'd you get that?
Mm-hmm.
How'd that happen? Like, did you get that at school?
Especially if it's like in a weird area.
Right. Like, if it's anywhere like on the shoulders, on the back, it's like, how'd you get that? So the 16-year-old female spoke up and told her father everything about the abuse she had been suffering from under the hand of Alejandro. The bruise was from him from the last time he had sexually assaulted her, which was days before this. She said that she did not want this to continue to happen to her. So I'm sure like that was a hard thing for her to admit, like, to her dad, to actually say that. But like, I can also say it was probably like a weight lifted off her shoulder.
How did he get her alone? Because it's what, an office? You said it was an office?
Mm-hmm.
So the office.
First he was texting, and then there was social media. So they had constant communication.
Because most coaches don't have a full-size office. So it's not like a regular-sized classroom. How are you allowing yourself to be left out at campus where he can actually get you into the room by yourself? And
then the fact that nobody else saw anything on campus. That's another
Most
part.
schools have cameras too.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it? Okay.
Well,
I'll wait.
Okay, so once Alejandro figured out that she had told her dad about the relationship, he called her dad and apologized for sexually abusing her and being like, don't tell anybody. Well, the dad contacted police, which then South San ISD police and the West Campus administration, they put Alejandro on leave and completed their investigation. They looked through the cell phones, they looked through the cameras, and they saw him taking her to his office. And then they did a forensic sweep of his office where they found bodily fluids, including semen, in his office.
Well, I mean, if he's forcing himself, he's just wiggling around, I guess. Probably shouldn't have said that. Let me back up, though. Because you said once he realized that she had told, which means she's now not able to be captured by him at the end of the day. That's got to be once or twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he
so
did.
I was like, wait, he waited.
And I don't know how Alejandro found out. I don't know if she told him or maybe he figured it out when
she wasn't around.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dad contacted police. And so he was later arrested. Alejandro was arrested and ended up pleading, of course, no contest to the charges of improper relationship between an educator and a student. And of course, he wanted a plea deal. So the sexual assault charges were dropped. But he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the improper relationship between an educator and student. Since then, the high school's been closed as part of the district's downsizing, Southwest ISD, and the whole situation was just kind of like swept under the rug.
Which is funny because there's not many rugs at schools.
I don't think there's any in high school, to be honest with you.
We don't have carpet circle time, so we don't have rugs.
So he was sentenced and this past September, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison, which I'm sure he'll end up getting.
He'll be 40-something when he gets out.
Right. Yeah. If he's not already gets paroled in a few years, then. But he'll be on the sex registry list, and he'll never have another job as a teacher, thank God. I mean, I say that now. And then,
was he really teaching?
He was a coach.
And the thing is, he probably casted out a net. And she was the only one that responded. Yeah, she was the only one that responded as much. And it's like, why? I don't understand that gap. I think it's not the kid that's not mature enough. It's the adult that they're saying is mature enough because that part of their brain has developed or whatever. Like, I don't get
because
it.
They can't get anybody their own age.
I can't either. I'm not going to go get somebody that's half my age.
I know.
Like, that doesn't.
And then also, I think it's the manipulation part and the control part and the.
But people that are our age in relationships, they manipulate people anyway. So why do you have to manipulate somebody that's younger?
When they're younger, I think.
Where's the gratification from that? Not so much as being able to. I can manipulate people's minds anyway. And then you have to think from the
teenager girl point of view, which I was for teenage girls. How cool would it be if you were dating someone older? That's cool.
That wasn't dating.
Okay, but in their mind.
That couldn't have been in her mind.
in their mind, oh, I'm with this older guy who's giving me attention and affection.
Let's look at the bruises he left on my body this time, which I can't show anybody because he says I can't tell no one. So where's the bragging at? I can't say it's cool that I'm dating someone. Like it's not. And even if you could openly say, they don't even allow people that are teachers to be dating at the same school.
Right.
So even if they end up married, like it's hush hush when they're doing the dating thing. You don't see it on campus, but the kids somehow figure it out.
Right.
And then they get married. And it was like, oh, okay, happy. Now they're together. But if you don't allow adults to doing it, how is it okay? It's not okay. Yeah. And I can see the infatuation part of it because you're like, okay, well, I'm 50 years old and the kids still think I have a nice body. That was a comment. I'm not 50. But it's like, you want to feel good about yourself that people still think you look nice.
I think,
there's teachers that I've seen. They're just really nice and they're cute. Like they have cute little outfits.
Oh, for sure. I've seen lots of teachers like that.
But I don't want the next step attention.
No.
Where it's like, oh yeah, her butt looks good in those jeans. I'm your superior.
I'm the adult.
Don't. And kids do that because they're like, oh yeah, well, so-and-so teacher, she's so fun. Where's she at? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, there was, like on Facebook, there was a post about a resource officer, and he was fine as a glass of wine. And the comments on the post from adults, and I'm like, oh my God, like, can you imagine? Like,
I'm not
what
gonna lie.
The kids are thinking and saying, like, it's just so inappropriate. And I'm not gonna say you should not hire somebody by the way they look. That's not, like, that's totally not it. But
you know when you know that you look good.
But we shouldn't be like.
We shouldn't be, but I mean,
we shouldn't be saying these inappropriate things. Because then it's like, well, what do you think the kids think? Like, I can already tell you what those middle school girls are saying. Like, oh, he could be my next stepdaddy. Like, or, it's not appropriate. But I get it.
I have to be honest because I'm sarcastic. I can make comments about things that, they have those little trainings that you do that you're not supposed to do this and that or whatever at work.
I know.
People could get fired from things that they say, And
then it's like on social media, it's funny and it's all da-da-da, and it's like, okay. So in 2022 and 2023, Comal ISD had 3 teachers being charged for having inappropriate relationships with students. This was like back to back to back. So 2 of them were from the same high school, Canyon Lake High School. In November 2022, female math teacher, 38-year-old Devin Hopper, was accused of sending inappropriate pictures and text messages to a 15-year-old boy student. Hopper was actually married to another teacher at that same high school. Again, the male student had great parents who found the photos on his phone and immediately reported the pictures to police and the school. Hopper was placed on leave and is now fired, and her trial is still pending. Then in February, a male teacher, like you would be like, oh, one teacher's already got busted for this. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But no,
I'm more clever with my situation. They're not going to find out.
3 months later, a male teacher, 38-year-old Orlando Newman, was arrested for improper communication with a female 15-year-old student and unrelated charges of possession of child sex abuse material. 3 months later.
I'm just waiting for you to say a certain name.
Comal.
I've known some names that pop up and I might know.
So Comal ISD claims that these incidences were far and rare, and the district does background checks and criminal history searches. Parents of the students that attended Canyon Lake High School have reported that they feel shocked about the allegations, but they are not surprised and fear more than ever for their student safety. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're listening to this and you are a parent, I can tell you there's at least one on every campus. Do you agree?
I'm going to plead the 5th because I don't want to say it.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's probably at least one on every campus. That's all I'm going to say.
I think they've left some campuses. They were there.
Okay, well, they were there and they're at a different campus now.
And I have to back up what you said, that there's criminal check backgrounds and stuff done. Like, the teachers are fingerprinted when they first get into the system.
Right.
They should make this something that happens every so often. Not so much like in the state of Texas, we have to, teachers have to renew their certification after so many years. They should also get fingerprinted, and all that stuff should happen again.
Another background check should be done, right?
That should be something that's consecutive. Because if this is something that's happening, if you're saying there's one at every campus, how many schools are in Texas?
I mean, I'm like, there's probably at least one at every campus. There has to be.
How far back can you go to find out what this adult was missing? And I think that's what I would like to find out, is that void that they're trying to fill. Because some of these people have families, they're married, they have kids, and then they prey on these kids,
right?
And they look like outstanding, respectable people, and that is their poker face. So they go to the breeding grounds where they can find the most people, like, I'm going to be a teacher because I have my pick of the litter, and I can just do what I want, and nobody's going to know.
It's so gross.
And it's sad because the kids nowadays, they don't want to get people in trouble. So they'll tell their friends, they'll giggle about it, or they'll tell their friends and cry about it, but they won't tell to get help. They're like, well, we don't want to hurt them. You're being hurt, and you're allowing yourself to be hurt. So I don't understand. That's why I don't understand. Like,
I think that's part of the manipulation, though. If you tell anybody, I'm going to lose my job, or they're going to put me in jail, or then maybe you shouldn't be doing this.
There's no maybe about it. If you know what you can lose, my husband's going to be mad at me if you...
And maybe you shouldn't be doing them.
And like I said, it's like a beacon for the child to be like, okay, the teacher finds some interest in me. They want to give me more than just an A. What are you going to do with that? Like, yeah, you get your little bragging rights or whatever, but it messes up your life, especially if there's someone young and these kids actually fall in love. And that's like their first love. And I can't say you're too young for love or anything like that. And they're like, oh, well, no, she does love me. She's going to leave her husband. And like I said, with the movies, these people end up in jail, and the boy still wants to be with her,
right,
and marries her, and they have families, and you're 12 and you're being a father. You're 12 years older than your kid, you know, and life repeats itself.
Okay, so let me tell you about my story. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to say the city or anything. But so growing up, we lived in a smaller city up in north of Boston. And the schools, like, it was small at the time, and the school system was small. And so the schools were small. So everyone kind of knew everyone. So I remember I think I was in 5th grade, and my art teacher, I think she was my art teacher. She's real pretty, blonde hair, like she had 2 kids, and she was married to the coach. The coach worked at the high school. He was the football coach, whatever. And I thought, oh, how cute. Like, they're such a cute little family. You know, they got their 2 little kids, and, you know. Well, I go on for the rest of the school year. By the end of the school year, he had gotten a cheerleader pregnant. So the thing was, though, she was 18. So by law, there was no charges filed. And her parents were okay with it. So, I mean, it was just this huge, like, scandal, right? So he ended up leaving his wife. She ended up, like, leaving before the end of the school year, took her kids, left. I don't know where she went. She ended up graduating. They ended up getting married. And I remember they announced their wedding in the newspaper. I shit you not. Announced their wedding in the newspaper. I was like, you have some balls. Like, and her parents were all for it. And I'm telling you, this girl was pretty. She was a pretty blonde-haired cheerleader. She was pretty. I get it. But you know that relationship was going on probably earlier than when she turned 18. And then she just happened to be 18, and she got pregnant. They ended up getting married. I think to this day they are still married, and they have kids together. And I don't even think he got fired. I think he resigned. I think they let him resign. And I mean, no charges were filed on him because her parents were okay with it, and she was 18 when it all came out. And I remember that story, and it's just sticking with me and being like, oh my God. Like the audacity of some people.
I don't even know where to begin with that. It's just
But I'm like, I'm sure that's not the only time that's
most
happened.
parents would be a little upset that their child is pregnant before they graduate and be like, you had a future, you
Right.
college, blah blah blah. But she's carrying the child of not just someone older than her, not just someone that's a teacher. It's a small town. You know the family.
Oh yeah.
You are condoning the fact that your child broke up a marriage.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that. Now he's your son-in-law.
And
your daughter is now his second wife, and you're okay with that.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
And every year that rolls around, you're the town talk. Remember when?
Yeah.
New people moved
I will
in.
never forget that. I know. I remember her name. I remember him. I remember his wife. I remember all of it. And I remember her. Like I remember her, and she was gorgeous, and she was pretty, and she was. I'm like, oh my god.
I think there's been 3 situations from the town that I am going to talk about.
Okay.
So like one was a teacher slash coach, and he would often take the kids to and from the games.
Okay.
So he had like their phone numbers and stuff. But then the social media messages started happening, and he also had kids that went to the school, and it was just
His own children
Yeah.
into the school.
So it was just weird how the friendships and bonds. I don't know what happened. I know that they were eventually let go, but they still kept in contact with different people that were on the campus and everything. And there was a situation where he taught a younger class, but the older kids would be in the classroom because they didn't want to be in their classroom. I was like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound right, because grades don't mix, and you don't harbor children because they don't want to be in their classrooms. I was like, this is a little weird. I didn't know much about that one. Another situation, and so I have friends that tell me this to say to cover up. Every time the song Dancing Queen comes on, I relate because this person liked that song for whatever reason. Probably should have been like a red flag of some sort.
Who sings that?
I know it's from Mamma Mia, but I don't know who sings it.
I can't remember either.
Dancing Queen.
Yeah.
And
they liked that song?
They lip synced to that song for an event. So I guess they liked it. I don't know. And but like the guy just looked a little weird anyways. When you see someone.
I know.
And we were like, okay, well fine, whatever. That's just us or them saying people look weird. That's just human nature.
Right.
Come to find out, this person would allow kids to go into the room during break time or whatever, the teacher's break, allow them to make out in the classroom. They would sell
videotaping.
Maybe, I don't know, but they were also selling sanitary napkins to the girls, so they knew when the girls were on their cycles.
Oh, that's so gross.
When this person was finally let go, the kids would go to the room and be like, "Oh, well, we miss him." Like they taught it like it was like they were brainwashed. And they would treat this room like it was a den. Like they would just be like,
it's like Stockholm syndrome.
So what were you doing to these kids? They're between 16 and 18 years old. What were you doing to where they felt that closeness to you? Was it because you allowed them to do certain things
and they thought you were keeping their secret, so they felt like.
But you got a nurse. I don't know if they were selling the sanitary napkins and stuff. You're a nurse, will get you for free.
Right.
Or you got it at home.
Right. Tell your mom. Tell your grandma.
Why are you buying it from a male teacher?
And why are you selling that? Like that, like. I didn't want any of my teachers knowing I was.
That's usually something that you don't just openly tell people. You don't. And why are you gonna go to a male teacher and be like, "Oh, I need a pad. I started."
Ugh. And then
And the other one, I was surprised you hadn't mentioned.
And I wonder if he's just like, that was his like.
What he got off on?
Yeah. That's
if I had
disturbing.
I would.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. You're not gonna do this. Like I feed kids. I feed
No, that's a
adults.
difference.
I'm a giving
That's a
person.
difference.
I'm not selling to you. If I have it and I know that you're hungry, or if you need a pair of shoes, what the kids that I've worked with, I've always worked with kids. If you needed something and I could help you with it, I would help you with it, but not for any kind of gratitude or satisfaction in return. I had trouble growing up anyways, just because I'm just a
Right.
weird person. Why am I trying to mess with somebody's life? What are you missing? And you, if you looked at the back of their lives, sometimes these people had decent lives and they didn't have anything where you would consider that they were missing.
Right.
What is wrong with you?
They get a power trip.
There's a malfunction there.
There is a big malfunction.
The other one was actually in the news. They had a relationship with an 8th grader or 8-year-old kid or something. Had a young kid themselves too. So I was wondering if you were going to say their name.
No.
And they admitted it. It had been happening for like 3 weeks. So it was like an early relationship. You want to be like, oh, well, good, it was only 3 weeks. But the fact is that it was 3 weeks. And you're a teacher. You're married. You have older kids. You have a younger kid. I believe the wife also worked with children that had trauma to deal with. And I don't understand.
I don't either. I don't get it.
But like I knew this person.
That's
So like when I'm looking back on this, I'm like,
red flag.
yeah. But again, because they carry themselves around like they're someone of importance, it's hard to break
Well,
down.
and then you think that because they're married and they have their own kids, and oh, they would never do that. Like,
because you wouldn't want somebody to do that to your kids.
right.
But it makes you wonder, did they do that to their kids too?
And a lot of times that ends up happening, or it ends up being the thing, which is even more disturbing. I think parents really need to get, and I'm just not just talking about parents because it's not even parents anymore that are raising these kids. It's, their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins.
Their social media.
People need to look in their kids' phones. You need to know what your kid is doing. Who is messaging your kid?
Why do these kids have phones?
I mean, no, they shouldn't even have phones. And if they do, they shouldn't have any apps. It should be a phone and it maybe a text message if that's the case. But I mean, Snapchat, I think, is the absolute worst because Snapchat, you see it one time and it's gone.
Well, no, you can save it.
Yeah, but what kid is saving these types? You know what I mean?
Depends on what's being sent because there's been situations that they've saved it and because they were shocked that they saw it.
These messages are just, anyone can message these children. And
for years, we had pay phones on every street corner.
Right.
Why did we get rid of them? Put 50 cents back in somebody's pocket. A little coin purse so you can make a phone call when you're out and about.
Page me on my beeper.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that anymore because then you can figure out how to put little messages and stuff like that. Go back. Not that the teachers weren't weird and stuff back then too. We can't stop how humans were. But you can stop technology from taking over the world. It is everywhere. Like if you don't have if you're not in a relationship and you're old, then people are like, what's wrong with you? If you don't have a cell phone or you don't have certain social medias, what's wrong with you? How come nobody believes you that you don't have this site or that site? Like, where is the learning process?
I think there has to be better, like, parents have to do a better, or guardians, whoever, have to do a better job of figuring things, of asking questions. And especially if they're in any type of sports or after school activities where they're.
Well, we knew. And I'm not going to say that our parents were any better or worse than them. I mean, they probably were.
I know. My mom worked a lot, so she was. Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, also because I didn't have a cell phone until like I was in high school. So I don't know. I didn't have a phone. Well, never mind, because you're younger than me. Phones weren't invented when I was in high school. We had beepers. I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with social media now and just the opportunity. But if your kid, like, I think a lot about like Larry Nassar in the gymnastics team and how he totally abused his power. And those poor girls had nobody that would ever listen to them. And it took so long for somebody to step up and say, hey, like, something's not right. Like, this isn't okay. I mean, not even the FBI stuck up and said anything in the beginning. It took them forever to get on the same page. And so I just think, like, if your kids in dance, gymnastics, anything like that, like you really need to be like, who are these people that are around my children? If you have a babysitter, a nanny, I mean, anything after school, sports, football, basketball, like my child's never going to be alone with a coach. I can guarantee you and promise you that for the rest of his life. Like I've already set that straight in my mind and I'll put that in my child's mind. They will never be alone with a coach because I know too much and I've heard too much.
Well, I would get concerned if they're left alone, period. But like, where does the trust come in, and where should you have had more?
I think we just have to have more. I don't even think there can be enough trust. I don't think there can be. And you seem like a nice person. I'm sure you are a nice person, but unfortunately, this is my line, and my child will not be anywhere alone with you, driving in a car, at your house, private lessons. No, thank you. I will go with him. I will gladly go with my child
And I wonder
anywhere.
too, where's the fear at?
Maybe that's it. We're too trusting, or we're busy in our lives. Adults are
it's just
busy, and
the rule. I was told if I failed a grade every day after that, I was going to come home and get beaten. I didn't want to find out if that was true or not, so I didn't fail. Where is that fear at now? Like, there's no fear. Like, the kids don't feel like anything. Like I said, they're more concerned about protecting the one that's doing wrong than seeking help.
Right.
Because once they go and seek help, there's this long, drawn-out process for it. It's not like boom, bam, over and done. You saved me.
No,
let's
I
move
get
on.
it. Yeah.
So, how do you fix this? Because we're constantly putting the Band-Aid on backwards. How do you fix it?
I think we just have to educate more, and we have to educate, and we have to educate, and we have to tell these. I mean, that's why we do this podcast, so we can educate people.
But what education did you get that we no longer deliver now?
Don't talk to strangers.
But we don't deliver that anymore.
But also in the fact that we didn't have technology. Our butts were outside playing from sun up to sundown.
It's creepier without the technology.
And we never had that problem though.
Right, but like with the technology, and I know I'm a devil's advocate. I was just bad mouthing technology before. With the technology, if something's going on, you can trace the phone and find it. We didn't have the phones to trace it and find it. If you didn't tell your parents where you really were going, then the parents only had that one number, and they were calling that one friend. Is Jill at Sally's house? No. And they're like, oh, wait, we'll just tell our parents we're going to sleep over your house.
Yes.
So it was a lot of that going on. But we knew if our parents found out, we were in trouble. There was no fear of getting in trouble because the kid's like, oh, my mom beat me. Now the parents are in trouble for it. If a kid's missing school too much, the parents are in trouble for it. The kid never gets in trouble for any of this stuff. Now, unfortunately, they're the ones being abused, but they're protecting the person that's abusing them. So that's the trouble that they're inquiring that's going to be attached to the rest of their lives. But where I feel like our parents did what they were supposed to do. Their parents did what they were supposed to do. What generation lapsed? Is it that they started having kids too soon? They didn't have time. They had to like work and not raise their child. You know, I see it all the time where they're putting the kid in front of the TV. I watched TV too when I was a little kid. Is it the TV shows that are different?
I mean,
you know, we don't have Growing Pains and Family Ties and the Cosby Show.
Have you seen some of the shows?
I mean, I do watch some of them, and I watch a lot of them. It's more reality TV.
But again, I'm not going to sit here and blame, because you walk on a high school campus, and I can't tell if these girls are 13 or 23. You know, and I think that's part of it too. And I'm not saying that's an excuse, because that's not an excuse. But
why are they wearing so much makeup? I don't know. And they put it on nicely. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, they do. They look gorgeous.
But why? Why are you in 6th, 7th, 8th grade with makeup on? You get to school and you're like, I'm tired because you woke up early enough to paint your face. I don't get it. And then at the same time, I'm like, well, I wish I knew how to put on something other than lip gloss.
Well, I know. And
that's like, who's paying for it? Who's paying for these shoes? $300 shoes, talking about I can't crease my shoes. Why are you walking for me? These kids are going to have crutches by the time they get to be my age. Then they have these cell phones, $1,000 cell phones. These
tank tops, these short shorts, these mini skirts.
I know you could go in the store and find something to cover everybody's body. So is it which generation did this happen? Because it's more, like you said, there's one in every school. There's so many schools just around in a neighborhood. So that's 5 to 10 people right then and there, which means that they're not only that law isn't helping because they're working, living next to parks, and they're there. You know,
And
they're in front of the checkout lane.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, they work at Walmart. They work at H-E-B. I mean, you have to disclose that information, but that's not going to keep you from getting hired for a job. I can promise you that. I think we just, as guardians, we have to do better. We have to know where our kids are at all times, especially if anything related to school-wise. And if you think a teacher is being nice or being, oh, I'm just going to, help you out, like ask a couple questions, look at your kid's phone, look on their internet. And that's the line that we need to be on. But when you get these people that want to take advantage, and it's not just males, it's females too, that want to take advantage, we have to be careful, and those are the ones we have to look out for.
So it's just, I mean, I don't understand that. I'm not supposed to understand everything in the world, but I really don't understand how you can look at a child and look at them and be like, oh, they're cute, I want to date them. People have some cute kids. I see cute babies all the time.
I do too. Kids that come up and tell me, oh, I'm 19 or I'm 20. And no, you're a baby.
What can I do with that?
You are a baby. I'm happy for these high schoolers that look great and they're gorgeous and they're handsome, and you're going to go on and you're going to be happy, and you're going to, I want you to be successful in high school and college and all that.
Those people that have the warped sense of thought, they'll be like, okay, well, they're in their sexual peak.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what they think.
I don't understand it.
Yes.
I don't.
I don't either.
And if the kid is making advances towards the teacher, you don't give in.
Oh,
for a bad reason. Why are you being nice to me about anything?
And then you make parents freak out, and it just becomes this huge ordeal. And
enrollment is big.
Right. And right now, that's everything that's everyone's talking about is enrollment.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also not going to say that it's not, like, I think it's every age group. I think it's private. I think it's public school. I think across the board, it's everywhere.
I don't even want to think about anything below 6th grade.
I know.
It's just,
So if you feel the need to speak up for anyone or yourself, you can always contact 911 if it's an emergency, or for non-emergencies, contact SAPD at 210-207-7273. You can report crimes against children at Crime Stoppers at 210-224-STOP, or you can leave an anonymous tip online at www.p3tips.com. And we'll link all of our show notes and shared information on our social media pages and online. And of course, stay safe, San Antonio.
Bye.